starting. There we go. Countdown. It's Comedy Dish.
Co-starring Rick Wright and Stephen Allen Green.
Ta-da.
Ta-da!
Yay.
Okay, so you're sitting closer to your computer. That makes you taller. So if I do this.
There.
How are you?
Yeah, pretty good. Had real fun at the choir tonight because we have this friend of the choir director who's an immigrant from the Congo and been here about 6 or 7 years. But
does he come to the choir dressed in a grass skirt, face makeup, and holding a spear?
No, she has.
Oh, it's a she.
Yeah.
Okay. Then the answer would be yes.
Her name is Angel, I think is her name. But anyway,
okay.
And she's been here about 6 or 7 years, but she had 4 children in the Congo, and they only were able to get out here last year. So,
wow.
But now, they're all here, and they were all participating in the choir tonight. So that they kind of added a different dimension to it because we have a performance 2 weeks from tonight, and they're always an integral part, but they definitely make it more interesting when they're there. We just sing different songs.
It's one of the things I wanted. It's one of the things on my list when I go back to England next year for a brief period. In fact, if I can work out the logistics, I may be doing a tour, sort of a couch surfing tour.
Yeah.
We'll see how it goes. But yeah. So it's one of the things I want to see when I get back to England. It's those things. There's so much of that in England and in London in particular. The things that are really interesting and relaxing and non-show busy and fun and makes you just enjoy life. My life when I was with Kim, the last girlfriend in England, the last girlfriend in England. We did stuff like that, and I really enjoyed it. Because I'm so entrenched and always have been in showbiz that, like, to me, like a recreational day out would be, going to a screening and then a Q&A with a famous director. That's not a break from showbiz.
Yeah. Well, all I can say about that choir situation was when somebody said, you should come watch this choir. They're doing a concert in Crouch End. And I had just, I'd been living there about a year at that point. And when I saw them, I go, wow, they sing a cappella and they don't go flat, which is, a really tough thing to ask. But I just liked the look of them. Did not notice that Maggie was in that choir that day.
This is your future girlfriend?
Yeah, that she was singing that day, but I was just more listening than looking at the people. So then I said, yeah, a choir, that might be fun, and so I joined the next term. Didn't meet Maggie until about 4 months in, but here we are 9.5 years later. And
so how did it happen? If I was running, let's say, like the Richard Curtis movie version scene of this, two of you are holding choir scripts, musical sheets, lyrics, whatever it is, and you're standing next to each other and you're harmonizing, and then you catch each other's eye.
Yeah.
Come on, that's how it happened.
Yeah, that's a good plot line, because the regular one, well, we would just go meet for drinks at this pub that was around the corner, and I happened to sit next to her, and we just started talking more, and then
the choir would go meet for drinks.
Yeah, not all of them.
I love this because this would never happen in America. Because when you think of choir, I'm totally off base here, but when you think of choir, I
church,
tend to think of church, right?
yeah,
So let's go drink. What do I know? I'm a Jew. What do I know
yeah,
about church?
yeah. But
Um,
yeah, and actually, we do our rehearsing in a church, so so yeah, it's not that far fetched. But yeah, going for drinks and then just talking. And I remember one time she said that she's had bad bad luck in relationships, and I remember thinking, well, you just haven't been with me yet.
yeah, I would think the same thing if I was in your circumstance, but
Yeah,
my phraseology in my head would be, you think you've had a bad relationship.
yeah,
You
right.
haven't been with me yet. All right. Well, speaking of relationships, I want to bring on our guest, and this is Michael Legge was supposed to be our guest. He's a comedian, and he's very interesting stuff he's been doing in the UK. But he's in Northern Ireland. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah. He
Unexpectedly.
couldn't get a flight back today, so but
Well,
he said he'll do it next week.
that's great. Michael Legge. I always liked Michael Legge. I remember, I think, last seeing him at a gig. I remember specifically the gig. Michael Legge, very funny guy. But today, so I don't have a prepared intro, but I can do it by heart. And when she comes on, she can correct me. But she was a finalist in Last Comic Standing.
Hmm.
She's got a podcast called Not My Rabbit Hole. She's very funny, very positive, really thinks out of the box. And just on a personal note, especially when I went through my crisis in 2010, she was one of the few people that talked to me as a human that I was, just gave me some time on the phone. I really appreciate that. It was a tough time. Anyway, not to bring us down, please welcome all the way from Fresno, or Fresno, California. Please welcome the lovely, intelligent, talented, wonderful Terry Joyce.
Hi.
Hi.
Fred,
How are
yes.
you? Yeah. Happy Christmas or Thanksgiving, whatever it is.
Happy holidays.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you?
I have a tree.
Yeah.
Rick, you asked me earlier if it was real. I forgot. It really is fake, but it's
Yeah.
really fake.
But
When I'm thinking real, I'm thinking of virtual now for some reason.
It's really a tree. It's not a picture of a tree. So that's
right. Exactly. That's what I meant. But now I realized when I was in the box, in the green backstage, the green room still, the virtual green room, I was thinking that maybe you were asking me if it was a real or a fake one. And yeah, it's fake.
Well, yeah, it'd be a little early to be using a live tree at this juncture.
Well, that's true. Yeah.
And are you doing the whole Thanksgiving thing tomorrow?
Well, you know what? I don't know. I really don't have any Thanksgiving plans, and you probably go, oh, probably because her family doesn't like her, and because it's like, what? Nobody likes you. Nobody invited you anywhere. But what I kind of like doing Thanksgiving. I kind of like doing the holidays by myself. And I know that might sound weird, but even when I go to other people's Thanksgivings, they have family stress. And then you feel that person's stress, that family stress. And you're like, oh my God, I need to smoke a cigarette and go have a drink now. Get me away from these people. Oh, wait, it's my family. But so I thought about, I saw this recipe of making ramen noodles, like a beef ramen noodle recipe that I thought, you know what, I'm going to do something completely not traditional and cook it. And I was thinking of making a video of me cooking it with my DJI Osmos Pocket 3 and, make a YouTube video out of it or something. I know it probably sounds pathetic, but
well, it's a funny idea having ramen for Thanksgiving anyway. So
right. Yeah. Why? Hey, we've had my family. My favorite dish is tacos, and we've had tacos for Christmas before. It was wonderful.
All right.
Yeah.
You remember, Stephen, it would have been 20 years ago that you had a Thanksgiving. When you were living in Notting Hill in London, you had a Thanksgiving dinner.
Yeah.
You catered it, but the food was excellent.
Yeah, but thank you. I actually cooked all that because I had this great kitchen, and lived in Notting Hill, so the provisions that I would get on my little scooter and go over to the butcher or to the greengrocer, and I was so into cooking. I still am. It's just that where I'm living really is kind of a small kitchen, but yeah, I love it's my favorite thing to do is to throw a holiday party and invite the various factions of friends that I have. What I mean by that is I have comedy friends. I have people that are not in comedy that are friends. You get the point. And then there's crossover, and I love seeing a comedian talking with my accountant and having you can see when they're laughing and holding glasses and stuff. And it was such a great flat. It was such a great flat, and perfectly located and all that. Yeah, I love that. I love doing that. I love,
Yes,
love
that was less than a week after I'd gotten married. So,
Oh wow.
but what was funny too was we really couldn't stay that long because
You were horny.
well, yeah, we were still newlyweds, but also for my stepson who was 9 at the time. Yeah, he was like I guess he was 10, but anyway, yeah, it was a school night. They didn't get the Thanksgiving weekend there, so
No, because it's an American holiday.
yeah. So
Did you have a lot of people show up in England for the Thanksgiving?
Yeah, I think I had like 20, 25 people, and
people kept drifting in too.
Yeah.
Earl Oaken showed up just when we were leaving. But,
Yeah, he probably had a gig. But
I heard they don't have ranch dressing in England. Is that true?
Probably.
No, they do. But yeah, the only ranch dressing I've found is at the supermarkets. They have Newman's bottled ranch dressing. So,
but if you went to a restaurant and ordered a salad and said, "I want ranch dressing," you want what?
Yeah, or Thousand Island.
Oh, they don't have.
They don't have that either.
Yeah, I mean it's easy enough to make, but no, that's not just a standard thing. It's pretty much French dressing and oil and vinegar and
something called salad cream.
What about blue cheese or Roquefort?
Yeah, they have blue cheese, but yeah, salad cream is like it's almost mayonnaise, but it's got other things in it that make it not mayonnaise. Maybe no egg. I don't know. I've never tried it. I've never tried brown sauce either.
Brown sauce. It's like steak sauce.
Yeah, almost. I got them. It looks kind of like A1 or something like that.
Yeah, but it's not as tart or pungent as it were. It's just kind of a neutral, almost like a gravy flavor. This is salad cream on Amazon. It's kind of yellow, unlike mayonnaise.
Yeah, and Heinz is the main. That's the main brand of it.
And this is HP sauce, which is common if you go into a chip shop, fish and chips. You can have HP. And the beans, I have to say, I've not been able to find a decent tin of beans in this town because they all have sugar. All the American bean companies just, and they even advertise. I'm not like a sugar phobe. I'm just saying when it's advertised as, Heinz in America, Heinz beans with lots of brown sugar, when it's on the label, that's not the same flavor because what you want to do is you want it to be a side dish with your sausages or on toast. This is the great British. You ever have beans on toast, Terry?
No, I never have. Never.
Yeah, it's
amazing.
It's a standard.
I wouldn't mind trying that. I mean, what kind of beans do you put?
Yeah, that's what I was just saying. Is that they're like Heinz beans but without sugar. So it's just like beans.
Are those other brands? They still make Van Camp's pork and beans, or
probably?
They still make that, yeah, and that's kind of a sweet kind of. I'm not crazy about the Van Camps.
Yeah, I'm not crazy about the Van Camps. I remember when they first moved into the neighborhood, and look at the Van Camps. How you doing? And they were actually people camping in a van. That's what we have now for Van Camps outside. But this is beans on toast. And Sheila Martin, our dear mutual friend Sheila Martin, Rick,
Yep.
you know, her great line about it was, and you know, I love beans and toast because the recipe, and she'd pause right there, and the audience would start to laugh, is included in the name, you know. So, so yeah, yeah. So yeah, this is right. Like this would be a good example of beans and toast. And I got to tell you, when you have your full English breakfast and you have your beans with that,
Well,
that's
I
pretty.
think this one right next to the big thing of that looks like a pretty full English breakfast because it's got the fried egg on top. Looks like there might be.
Yeah, yeah, but you wouldn't put your fried egg on top. Let me show you what a full English.
Wow. I mean, that looks good. And they put a lot more beans than I expected on there. It's like a
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a couple good heaping spoonfuls.
This right here is a full
yeah,
English breakfast. Yeah.
there
So,
you go.
but I've seen more where you also get black pudding, which is right here. This is black pudding, this black round disc on
Yeah.
top. You get like 4 different types of meats, fried mushrooms, heavily buttered, even fried toast. You know, that cafe that was below my flat, they would make, I would order breakfast from them, and they would, they fry their toast in butter. They make it as toast, I think, first, and then they put it on the griddle in butter. And you get this incredible, and it's Terry, it's a British tradition, especially when you've been on the piss the night before, you're drunk and you're trying to recover.
Kind of like menudo here.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there's a lot of different tastes that you get to that neutralize the alcohol that's still in your system. There's also the fried tomatoes or tomato.
Yes. Yes. Let me see if I can enlarge that, because that is, in fact, one of the great things about it. Here's a picture of it. Let me see if I can enlarge this particular photo.
Yeah. Yes, they sometimes call it a confit tomato.
Is that true?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen that in the restaurants on the menu. That it's it's a half of a tomato that's just kind of fried so that it's just very juicy.
That sounds delicious.
Yeah, no, it's great.
I've never had fried tomatoes before, but it sounds good.
It's, it's one of the amazing things. The tomato is an amazing thing, and it becomes a completely different animal, if you were, when you fry it. It's also great. I like to use Roma tomatoes to either make or augment spaghetti sauce, because they have like this sweetness that comes to life and gets neutralized as well when they're fried. And they have like this little, radiotronic transmitter that lets all the other ingredients know, come on, up your game. I'm a fried tomato. Come on, up your game. But yeah, no, I mean, this is the whole thing about British food, that, one of the things, when I'd come back from England in the early days, but isn't their comedy's great over there, yeah, but their food, their food is terrible. Not really.
I thought that for the first year or two. And then I just realized, if you upgrade from the corner diner, you can get a pretty decent. You pay a little more, but you get excellent food.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about British pie, meat pies. The butcher near my house in Notting Hill had all these fresh meat pies, and you'd get them so they'd prepare the stuff inside. They'd cook the chicken or the liver or the leeks or the steak or whatever they were using, or fish, in this stew, this sauce. They thicken it up with some flour, and then they put it in a container that you get to go, which was lined with pastry. I'm hearing a ding, ding, ding.
Sorry, it's Maggie texting.
Is she all right?
Yeah, she's talking about something entirely unrelated to food, but
What
I
is she
know
talking about? Now I want to know.
it was just we talked a little bit about the choir, or before I called here. Or
What's her, ask her if you can. What's her favorite pie? Yeah, thank you, Terry. What's her favorite pie? And tell her
Okay.
you need to know. You absolutely
No.
need to know.
Although she may not do too much with pies because unless they're gluten free, but
Ask her
Oh,
what her
wow.
favorite gluten-free pie is, if they can get
okay,
them.
I will do that. Let me just get on to
I
there.
didn't realize they have gluten. Now we know.
Yeah, now we didn't know it had gluten-free toothpaste. We didn't know. Anyway, these are some examples of pies. These are, recipes and, stock photos. But you're a meat eater, Terry, or are you
Yes. I think at one point I had this fantasy of being a vegetarian, but then I
Mhm.
was like, oh, screw that.
Exactly. No, I wish I once years ago when I was in college, I lived in a vegetarian household, and it was great. I lost a lot of weight. We would go to the Grand Central Market downtown and get like big jumbo bags of beans or whatever, and we'd make communal food. And it was wonderful, and it is something that I often think I wish I was in control, but it's also, and I may be wrong about this, so please, viewers, chime in. I think it's more expensive to cook vegetarian just to get fresh vegetables, unless Okay, so I'm already going to get attacked on this, but that's an excuse.
That might be true depending on where you're shopping at,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Like
that's true.
Whole
Yeah,
Foods.
yeah. If you're going to shop at an all natural foods place, the prices are
gonna-
going to be higher.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. I saw a
but
guy on the internet saying kind of something interesting. He was saying, if you're in a supermarket and you go to the health food section, what does that say about the rest of the food?
hey,
Poisoned food section.
when I was growing up, we didn't know about preservatives or anything like that, and we grew up healthy. At least we thought so.
Yeah, I thought they preserved our bodies longer.
Yeah, I mean, I ate Hostess Twinkies when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I knew about preservatives. I was already on it, like in high school. I know that might sound weird. I went to my high school reunion after 40 years, and this one, another one of the people, classmates came up, and she goes, I remember a long time ago we were in front of the mirror and you were putting sunscreen on, and you were saying, you got to protect your skin from the sun because you can get skin cancer, you can get wrinkles. And then they go, and then all of a sudden it was true, because like back then nobody thought about those things, but I did.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, I lived in
What does
Arizona.
that say about me? I don't know.
I lived in Arizona. I did a lot of sunbathing when I lived there, and I had melanoma sometime in the 90s, but
Oh.
fortunately, it was detected fast enough so that they could just do a quick surgery on my back, and it was done. But yeah,
Hey, speaking of living in Arizona, I think I drove by your old LA apartment last night, the one near Fairfax High School.
probably I was at the corner of Ogden and
Utah.
yeah.
Clinton.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, Clinton was the
What was the
street.
address? Do you remember?
Okay, yeah, I was at 429 Ogden. That's when I lived with Cynthia, and then I had another place at 547 Spalding, which was just a couple blocks.
Which is closer to Fairfax, Ogden or Spalding?
I think the Spalding house was closer because I used to hear. I mean, in the morning there'd be kids parking their cars in front of my place, and they'd have the radios blasting. And I remember just screaming out at the kids, "Don't you give a fuck about anybody?" And they got scared. So
What was the number on Spalding again? 426 or the high
547, and that was on a corner, but I can't remember the corner street. But
anyway, I drove by it. I'm sorry, Terry. It's just I drove by it and I went, "Oh, wait a minute. This looks like Broadway." It had sort of a no, this isn't it. Anyway, who cares? Look, this is going to be a great show. I want to talk, Carrie, about your comedy. I want to talk about what you're doing. You graduated. You're a filmmaker. You created.
I haven't graduated quite yet.
Oh,
I've got one more semester.
okay. Where do you go to? Where do you school?
I go to Fresno State University.
And you're studying what?
Digital journalism.
Digital journalism.
Yeah. Well, everything's converging to digital. So instead of, like, it's just different. For example, like if you look at the New York Times now, it's multimedia. You'll see an article and you might see a video, and then you might also see, a map. I mean, it's really expanded in different ways. I mean, you still learn how to be a journalist, like how to write in the inverted, pyramid and AP.
Wait. What's that mean?
There's
with the headlines and then the details.
Yeah. And like when you read an article, you basically want it. Some people only read the headline, really, because everything's so fast. But you go to the headline and then you go to the nut graph, so people can see exactly what it's about. So if you read a lot of articles, you'll see that it gives you all the information up front that you really need to know, and then it dwindles down into less relevant stuff.
Yeah.
Until it basically tapers off.
And what the longer articles also do is they might just midway through, they'll have an enlarged version of a quote from the body of the
right.
Of the text.
Yeah.
And then you see that quote, and then you look for, because it's nearby where that's cited. So you might tend to read the entire paragraph in which that quote is there.
One of the main reasons I don't like reading feature stories or even some news stories in American papers online, or basically is they take forever to get to the point. You don't know what they're writing about. Let's say the headline is water and utility prices in this California county have been cut by 50%. And you go, wow, I want to know how that happened. And so you start reading the article, and it's like, Myrna and James Mackle.
That's a bad article.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
They raised the family. And when Jim had to go into the army, and it's like, I don't fucking care. No offense. I'm glad you served. Thank you very much. But I want to get to the point. And I also feel manipulated purposefully. I don't feel manipulated, but I feel like I'm being manipulated. Because at the end of the day, look, it's all business, Terry. I really want to hear your opinion on this wild idea I have, is that it's all business. And so it's just like they used to sell popcorn when they had, one of the reasons Western movies were popular in America in the movie cinemas back in the 60s and 50s, before that, really popular. So when the desert scenes would come up, which inevitably were, they would turn off the air conditioning, and then they would sell drinks in the lobby. It was manipulated. The programming was partially used as a way to manipulate further upsales. And I think the same thing. I mean, when we were evening news, before the internet, just the evening news at 6:30, these three competing networks for our attention to find out what's important.
Walter Cronkite and
Harry Reasoner, and Tom Brokaw and Harry Reasoner. But Terry, what would be the commercials? What would be support? What would be the big sponsors? Pharmaceutical companies,
right?
That would appeal to our insecurities. Basically, do you have trouble getting a hard on? After you just seen a report about troubles in the Middle East, or anxiety meds. This was clearly a reaction to how bad the news was today. Then they'd sell you anxiety meds. I do think that journalism on the web is kind of the same thing. We just don't know.
Well,
we don't.
The problem is that right now, most people are getting their news. I think right now the leading social media platform anywhere, I think people are just getting their news in general, is TikTok,
Yeah.
which is run by
Yeah.
a China company. So
Yeah.
the irony in that. So a lot of things are changing. People aren't buying the paper anymore. I mean, they still get the paper, they still get magazines, but it's definitely moving into the digital realm, and social media does play a lot out of it. Yeah, there's a lot of things that can be clickbaity that are out there, but there's also a lot of publications that I think are quite innovative, and it continues to grow in a positive way. It's just not exactly black and white, but digital journalism is really where it's going pretty much right now. So I decided to focus on that because at the very least, I do my own podcast, and I have I've been live streaming and doing all kinds of things online anyway. So at the very least, I am better at writing my own articles and things. And one of the things I learned was publicity. I took social media classes. I've taken film classes. I'm taking a screenwriting class. Like I'm learning how to write in different ways. And I also took a creative nonfiction, which I really love. So I'm working on my first essay right now. That's more like a memoir piece, but which is a genre that I really like, that does get published in, like, say, the New Yorker or even the New York Times. These essays can be published that way. So I'm kind of looking to maybe going more into that direction. And I want to get an MFA in creative writing. That way I would be able to continue writing and things. And, but also I'm interested in maybe possibly teaching as well, or becoming a professor myself.
Do it all because they all help each other. It's like
right.
My partner for many years, she wound up being a professor at
who was that, Brian? I was talking. I'm sorry. Who?
Yeah, no, Ruby. My ex-partner.
Oh yeah, Ruby. Yeah.
She quit the act and moved to Kentucky to get her PhD, and then came back to Southern California and got a professorship at Azusa Pacific University, which is a Christian college, but it worked out well. She hung on there for 30 years, and just retired this year.
Let me
I
ask
haven't
you.
quit my comedy act though.
She
sorry,
taught
Brian.
writing. That's what reminded me. She taught creative writing. So
yeah. I just look to expand my possibilities of different things I could possibly do in my life.
So let me ask.
I still do like doing stand-up though. Yeah.
Well, I want to talk about that too, and we've got to get to the pub quiz. But there's a question lingering in my head about something. I took a journalism class in high school. I mean, that's how interested I was back then, and kind of still am. And I still write and whatever, blah blah blah. Okay, but I think in creativity, there's lying involved in creativity. Always lying,
yes.
right? Mm-hmm. So let me ask you about this. This is sort of the moral equivalency exam. So let's say my publisher or the managing editor or whatever asks me to do a story about buying a home in America and going through the process with the bank and finding the property. And I interview people, and I investigate, and I get reports. And in this piece that I'm writing, I say, well, as a matter of fact, I had the same experience when my wife and I bought a home in London in 2000. We had this, because I don't want to. Because I'd rather show that I'm married. I was at the time, but we were separated, and so the home was in my name. It wasn't about my wife. So, but for the sake of continuity and credibility, if I threw in there and said, well, back in 2000, when my wife and I bought a home in London, is that lying? I mean, how truthful do you have to be about yourself? Because there is so much doxing and uncovering, and people, I went online, I found out Stephen Green and his wife separated in 1999. What do you mean? Nothing in this story is true.
Well, I think you would maybe have to say my ex-wife and I bought it, or or I bought it when I was living with my ex-wife, or something like that. I mean, when you're doing a journalism, like if you're doing an article, you have to be honest. You want to be honest, and you should have an editor that's fact checking you.
Yeah, especially
that.
since there's.
But if you're writing a memoir, or you're using something in your personal life that becomes part of a story, a book, or based on a true story, screenplay, or something like that. Of course, you're going to be able to like have your own artistic license.
Yeah.
Creative nonfiction, it's you can write in a very experimental way, but still be telling the truth about something that happened to you.
Well, you can also be telling the truth as you believe it, because like when I write my blogs, I talk about stuff that I did in the past, and it's to the best of my recollection. So there could be some faulty stuff in it, but I try and make it as well as I remember it. And there's other people that were at the events that I describe, and they'll say, well, that's not how I remember it. And I just
there's also things, right? But there's also things that you and I, Rick, we write about comedy, and so I don't know if you do or not, Terry, but
sometimes,
sometimes. But our audience is, first of all, I believe that the writer's audience is always first him or herself. You're writing so you can express it to yourself. It's crazy, and keep a journal and keep it, positioned in time. But it's also other comedians, people in the comedy business, comedy agents or managers or clubs. They want to hear about our stories. And then there's the wider public. So when you're writing a story about the business, if you're writing it strictly for the wider public, you might say, so I had to do this bringer show. And by the way, bringers are when the comedians are
you have to explain it. Yeah.
Right. Except what you wouldn't do that if you were writing for an strictly industry audience. They would know what bringers are. They wouldn't. Oh, come on, we know what it is. Carry on with your story.
Right. But most people, I mean, and I think that when you're writing about being a comedian and about having a comic's life, you're not just. I would think, by and large, you're probably going to be writing to a larger audience. And so, whatever they don't know, you will want to add that in so they get that in its context.
Yeah, I do that in my blogs. I definitely, give a rough explanation of what the situation is. How sometimes how much we're getting paid, and how many people would be seated in the room, and how long we're supposed to do, things like that. That kind of boost the story a bit, give it some something that they can visualize. And
can I just interrupt you, Rick, and just say, as a fellow comedian and a fellow writer, you're a great writer.
Oh, thank you very much.
Don't give me the awe. That's disgusting. Now I feel gay. Nothing wrong with being gay. I would like to suck a dick. Look, we got Terry Joyce, and as we know, none of that talk right now. We're going to do our first pub quiz. We'll be right back with Comedy Dish and Pub Quiz. Okay, Brian, what pub are we in London today?
The Approach Tavern, I think, is the name of it.
Approach Tavern. Where is it?
It's on Approach Road, apparently.
Yeah, Approach Road, first floor, 47 Approach Road.
Yep.
The Approach Tavern, going to their Webbies. And let's bring their website. Oh, I like this already. Let's bring it into our visuals. The show. What's the show where all these puppets are it's in the future, and it's like a UK cult hit, from the 60s.
Oh, Thunderbirds?
Yeah, Thunderbirds. I wish there was an app where we can be like the Thunderbirds. You know the Thunderbirds, Terry?
No, I don't. I mean, that's why I was kind of wow.
They were all just dolls, basically.
Yeah, they're like marionettes that get into little model spaceships. The Approach Tavern. Drinks, food.
Oh, my favorite beer.
Litovel.
Yeah, it's a lager. I think it's Czechoslovakia, somewhere around there. It's Eastern European, but it's really good.
And do they have?
They do have a quiz night. I think it's Thursdays.
Okay, contact and bookings. It's just about your party. Okay, all right. From the Approach Tavern in was it North London?
Yeah, I think it's I think it's more central. I haven't ever been there, but it's just on my list of pubs that my agent books. My
Yeah.
love that street lamp. That's
Yeah.
that looks from about
Oh,
1906.
this looks great. Look at that. Look at that, Terry. Isn't that cool?
Wow.
Yes, they all look like that, or they all have that.
Well, I
kind
mean, yeah, and I've lived above a pub. It's kind of a cool place to live, above a pub. And in the summer, you can go out, and they used to, well, like they have heat lamps there. Are you allowed to? Are people allowed to smoke in outside dining areas or drinking areas?
Yeah, that's why they have the pubs that have the outside. Yeah, because they did the indoor smoking ban in 2007, I think
Yeah,
it was.
it was 2007.
It was almost 10 years after California did it.
Yeah,
But and actually they Ireland did it before.
that's
Ireland,
right.
everybody smokes there, but
And free house, to my understanding, free house means that there's no brewery ownership, because a lot of the pubs, most of the pubs are owned by the breweries. The
oh yeah,
manufacturers of the
good.
beer.
I didn't know what that meant, so there we go.
Yeah. Oh, this looks cool. And I see, Terry, this is the kind of pub we do comedy in, but there'd be a back room with a door, or a downstairs or an upstairs. And we would make these great comedy rooms, fireplace in memory of Harry King.
That's so
Oh
cool.
man, it's so fucking cool. And none of the glitz that we think
Yeah.
we need.
Yes, if you saw Baby Reindeer,
Yeah.
I did. Yeah.
that was a very typical pub where that guy worked.
Yes.
And in fact, I thought it was this pub in North London called the Maynard that I've done a quiz at before, but it has that kind of look. So
My
anyway,
favorite comedy gigs in England were at pubs. All right, so from the what is it called again?
Approach Tavern, yes.
From the Approach Tavern in London, let's begin our pub quiz. 3 questions, Terry. If you know the answer, shout it out even before the question's over, and we each get a point. And then there's 2 more rounds. Brian, first question, please.
First question: what guitar hero would be 82 today if he hadn't died 54 years ago?
Eddie Van Halen.
He only died about
I know.
5 years ago.
Joke. It was a joke. I know the answer, but give a clue so Terry can guess.
American, but he hit in England first.
Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah, that's right.
There you go.
I thought of it for a while. I'm like, no, was it 80? It was 80. He would be 82. Yeah. Okay. Jimi Hendrix. Cool.
Yes. Okay. Second one. Okay. Food. The phrase flavor of the month has its origins with what food?
Baskin Robbins.
Well, that's even more specific. Yeah, it is ice cream, but
I was going to say caviar.
Well, yeah, you're welcome to give sarcastic answers too. So
Okay.
Or silly answers, yeah. So the musical Tammy Faye, based on the life of the televangelist Jim and Tammy Faye Baker, closed last week after only 1 week on Broadway, despite a musical score written by what English music icon?
Andrew Lloyd Webber.
It was not Andrew Lloyd Webber. A lot of people guessed that one, but it's
Well, you said the word icon.
yeah.
Elton John.
Elton John is the right answer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it was successful here, which is odd since American theme, but when they brought it to Broadway, it bombed. So interesting.
I bet you it was good. It's like, do you remember there was that British comedian, well known, it wasn't Stewart Lee, but it was a British comedian who took who made a Jerry Springer musical in the late 90s in the West End.
Yeah, I saw it. Yeah, Jerry Springer, the opera.
Yeah, Jerry Springer.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
But they actually broadcast it on television, on terrestrial, on Channel 4 in London, and got a lot of complaints. But because they run the gamut of every single 4-letter word, including the C word, and a lot of people complained about them showing it on TV.
Oh, I was right. I was wrong that I was wrong. It was written by Richard Thomas and Stewart Lee. I meant that by Stewart Lee.
Okay.
He was my favorite stand-up and Earl Oaken's favorite British stand-up. Although I still love Eddie and Ricky, but come on.
Well, I did get to see Stewart Lee at King's Head one time, just doing it.
Really?
And yeah, that was I had heard of him, but I'd never actually seen him, and just the set he did was pretty amazing. And I did know what Craig Harmon has just said, that yeah, Elton he's pretty much blind anyway, but now he's entirely lost his vision in his right eye. So, and by the way, Maggie,
so I guess it is Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. I'm gonna trip on that motherfucker.
Yes, by the way,
Sorry.
Maggie did text in. She said her favorite pie is apple. So
that's so
back.
American of her.
Yeah.
Are you guys gonna get married?
No, there's no financial advantage to doing that.
There's no financial advantage doing that. Oh, because of separate pensions.
That
we have to get into it. We don't have to get into it.
Yeah, no,
that's what my grandmother did. She did not marry her last partner because they didn't want to lose their Social Security and stuff.
Yeah.
And also, I've gotten married enough for the two of us. So I've been married 3 times, and so that, in fact, that was my last blog was about all the bliss of the wedding day, and then my first gig after I've gotten married was just the audience absolutely hated me. And
why did they hate you? I don't get it.
Because I think they wanted joke. They didn't want music and song parody and stuff. So I got the ultimate insult, which was about 10 minutes in, some guys started clapping in unison, which is, enough of them did that so that it was a distraction. And apparently the manager of this place had seen that happen before to a bunch of different acts. So he just, he had this whole thing figured out that we have a side exit so that I can give you your money and you don't have to go through the crowd when you're leaving.
Sorry, I don't know. I'm laughing about that. But
I was laughing at it.
I love the way
you had to escape after that.
Yeah. No, it's like the improv.
Were they going to mob you or what?
Well, just because some of them will be honest with you and just say, well, I thought you were rubbish, and I've had that happen before in Birmingham, but this was in Maidstone, Kent.
Let me ask you guys a thing here. When we're doing great in a club, and we played there many times, it's a return engagement. When you're in at a club that you play like twice, 3 times a year, it's such a great thing because you just as soon as you finish the gig, they say, well, we'll hope to see you back in 3 months. Give us a bell next week.
Yeah.
And because they like you and they don't want to lose you because they know that other people. So when you work a club like that, and then there's a heckler or somebody complains about you or something, it's so easy to dismiss. Thank God I had people like Peter and Simon and other people who Paul, Dave up in Manchester, people that, if there was a complaint about me, heaven knows why, something I said that someone took a little bit too harshly, once made someone cry. They were heckling me and I just went at them in what I thought was a funny way, and the audience did too. But here's my question. What if they're sincerely upset at something that we say? What makes them that way?
Yeah, no idea. But you did remind me of the time that some guys from New York got really upset with my 9/11 material. It wasn't,
Is this in England?
it was in England. Yeah, these
Yeah,
guys.
well, they would, but I want to hear this story. Go on.
Yeah. So, and they were really upset, and they were wanting to talk to me and just, wanting to know how I felt about 9/11. Did I really think it was funny or something? I think
Yeah,
that's where they're going.
that's where the irony is lost on Americans, fellow
Yeah.
Americans.
And I told him what I did on the day it happened, and what message I might have been trying to get across. And one of them just said, well, it certainly didn't sound like that's what you were saying. And I said, well, this conversation's over. And one of them tried to appease me, the one nice guy in the group. And I just said, no, man, stay away from me. It's over. And so they went to this was at Jongleurs. They went to the management.
British club in London.
Yeah, they were a big chain of clubs, had as many as the Improv for a while.
Yeah.
And they went to the management, and the management just said, the sign on the door says comedy club. That leaves it open to anyone's interpretation. And they pretty much backed me totally. So
I found that a lot more. And I had, I remember doing one or two gigs with Sam Kinison. We went to some place like Covina, at some Mexican restaurant, to do comedy. Anyway,
do you guys remember the Lamppost Pizza Parlor? And
oh, that was the worst. Jeff Wayne.
That was the best.
Because these were skateboarding kids of that culture, and it was their hangout. And so you drove 2 hours east in traffic on a Friday night to do comedy. And then as soon as they would get slightly bored or thought you were dying, they'd all in unison, and let's do it, sing.
Na na na
na
na
na na
na.
Hey, hey, bye bye.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and Jeff Wayne and the late Keith Barnett. Yeah, they used to book it, and they'd always. I remember them once asking me, "Do you know any really bad comics? Because we like to get somebody really bad to open the show."
Wow, that's how I got booked. Give me a second, guys. Keep talking. I'll be right back.
Yeah. Oh, it really is.
Yeah.
So, the equivalent in San Francisco area was a place in Pleasanton called the Sunshine Saloon, and that was what I remember was some guy actually tried to get on stage with me, and was really drunk, and because I was singing a song, and he wanted to help, and so I go, "Get the fuck off the stage! Get the fuck off the stage! Get the fuck off the stage!" And I kept saying it with a different emphasis on a different word, until finally someone from the club, actually got up there and got him off the stage. But there was that kind of energy going on in that room. And
what song was it?
I
Do
think
you remember?
it was a Diana Ross song, I think. I forget what I was doing with it, but it was probably "Ain't No Mountain High Enough." Yeah, that was booked by Bob Moore for a long time. I don't know if you ever worked any of his gigs. He was mostly Bay Area, but it sounds like you made the rounds of Southern California too. If you remember.
I started there, and I got booked at the Lamppost Pizza Parlor. It might have been my first Jeff Wayne gig. Maybe it wasn't my first one, but I remember when the late great Keith Barnett was on stage, because of course I'm a masochist, so I did it more than once. But there was one show where Keith Barnett, had the mic, and then there was a heckler out there, and he goes, "Oh, you know what? I got the mic. And then for some reason there was a microphone right on stage near the heckler, and the heckler grabbed it and goes, "No, I have a mic too."
Oh,
and
God.
It was totally on. It was hilarious. I'd never seen anything like that before, where the heckler just so happened to be right next to him, right? It was like
Yeah.
one of those moments.
There are those rare occasions where a heckler will come out with a good line, but
Yeah.
the ones that I would get over here with some frequency was um, uh, "Go back to America," of course, "Fuck off, Yank," and "Can't wait till the comedy starts." That's always a good one.
Oh no.
I'm back. Were you guys talking about me?
We were talking about just, awkward and comedy moments and
Oh, my
hecklers
favorite subject.
and things. I had a heckler one time. I was playing at a bowling alley in the, how it was like in the bar, and it was early on in my career. I mean, maybe I'd been doing it for about 5 or 6 years. I mean, I'd already been doing the road and stuff, but I was there. And this guy started heckling me in the back, and I was just in one of those weird headspaces where I just stopped and I looked at it and I'm like, I really don't care about what this person thinks. And I wasn't really saying anything yet, really. And then somebody in the crowd goes, "Shut up. We like her." And this guy's, "No, you shut up." They go, "No, you shut up." And then all of a sudden I just saw this one guy get up and go after him, and there were some, chairs flying, and they took it, they ran out and started, fighting out in the lane, and everybody in the room, got up and started to walk out, and I'm sitting there going, I have dick jokes, and I was just trying to figure out what to do, and I was like, and I went out, and the guy was completely knocked out on the ground, and there was a cop, and he had blood coming in his ears, and they're going, "So what happened here?" And I was feeling it was bizarre. I wrote it in my, I actually wrote it in my diary. I was taking, kind of taking comedy, doing a comedy journal thing, and I wrote down that incident because, hey, it's not every day that the audience beats up the heckler, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I just reminded my scariest moment was when this is in Phoenix, and some cowboys up front were just not liking me at all.
They wearing their hats,
Some of them had their hats,
putting their crossed boots on the stage.
and one of them just said something with real mean-spirited vibe to it.
Uh-huh.
And I said, "God, what's the matter? Your sheep run away?" And all of a sudden, all 4 of them got up from their table, and they were all well over 6 feet tall. And I thought, oh, because this was very early in my solo career. And I just thought, oh, this career lasted a few months, didn't it? But the bouncers just came from nowhere and got the guys out of there.
I think the public should understand, as well as the comics today on both sides of the Atlantic, that when you and I were starting out, Brian, comedy was just starting out. Comedy clubs, that should say. Yeah, there's been comedy for hundreds of years, but I'm saying the modern comedy club boom of the 80s and the late 70s. I mean, this is when you and I were starting out. And what I mean by the importance of this aspect is that I think the audience didn't know how to behave either. I'm not excusing those redneck, shit kicking, probably actors on a movie set, when the director goes and cut, they go from, yeah, I think we better get on the cattle all the way and make sure that they don't take our land, and cut. And then you go, "So what do you want to do for lunch?" So who knows if they were real.
Shall we have a cup of tea?
Shall we have a cup of tea? But I think, Terry, what do you think of this? Is that the early days, the audience didn't know what to think, and didn't understand. I mean, it's come full circle now, where it's gone, politically correct fascism.
Oh yeah,
comedy. But in the early days, the audience,
it was fresh and new. I mean, well, I pretty much started like I started hitting the road in 1990, but I took a stand-up comedy club class in 1987. So I had that last 3 years of like before going into the 90s of like, doing gigs around town in California and stuff like that. But so even then, there was an etiquette that people had in going to comedy clubs. There were tons of comedy clubs happening, across the United States at that point. And it had peaked, and it was kind of a little bit on its way down in some ways. It was starting to thin out, where the rooms are getting papered and stuff like that. But we definitely had more of a cowboy kind of free speech privilege at that time, where now everything's gotten so PC and everybody gets all uptight about things. That's my feeling, especially on social media. Especially when it comes to, you might be able to get away with something still in a club, but there's definitely a change and there's more of a societal restriction, I think.
Yeah. Well, if you started in the 90s, then that was, the real boom had been happening from about 85 to about then, it started to peter out about 91 or 92, because the economy started to tank.
Yeah.
So,
leave it to me to start when it gets harder,
Yeah, but you're still at it, so
yeah, it's true.
done something right.
I hung in there. I had no expectations.
But those, and I think part of what's like getting me about comedy now is, it's a fully fledged business now. At the Comedy Store back in my day, you see some great comics and a few stars that were still comics, like Robin Williams, Richard Pryor. Now it seems, I could be wrong, but it seems like half of the comics at the Comedy Store are millionaire comics, and nothing wrong with that, but it's not really comedy of the people. Comedy of the people, I think, is, Bill Burr is the exception. He's a millionaire comic who does comedy of the people, but I think comedy of the people is really someone who's not a millionaire. I guess that's one of the things. I'm going to get letters. I hope I get letters. I have the whole collection. I'm just missing a P and a Q, I think, and then I have all the letters I need.
You got to.
I think it's
Q's.
I got to mind them. Let's do.
Q's hard to get.
Look, this is like my favorite. Let me tell you. I always say that Comedy Dish, this show, is my favorite part of my week. It is, and this is my favorite Comedy Dish episode of the year with Terry Joyce. She's so smart and wonderful and funny.
We talked about food for the first 20 minutes.
That's how good this show is.
All right, that's amazing.
We're going to do Nick. We're going to talk about stolen material, unintentionally or intentionally or coincidentally. We'll be right back. I was trying to do a thing where it comes in. All right, nicked. So nicked is the British term for stolen. Quickly stolen. Someone nicked me phone. So we talk about comics and comedy that's been stolen. Terry, have you ever had any material that's been stolen by you, or you've been accused of stealing from you, or
I was accused of stealing. I used to have this closing bit. I shouldn't say used to, but I got to find the music again for it. But I did my impression of the last karaoke singer at 2:00 in the morning. And I sang "Somewhere Over the Rainbow," all drunk and falling apart, and having it start over 3 times and all this kind of stuff. And it was one of those bits that was obviously was my closer. People would be like, it was like it was. I think one of my strongest pieces, really. And so there's another comedian that was a woman that was a headliner, and I wasn't a headliner yet. I was still emceeing at the Ice House and stuff like that. But she was a regular there. So until basically I got on Last Comic Standing, I wasn't allowed to do that bit. Until I for a really long time, I was banned from being able to do it as long as she was at that club. Yeah. And it wasn't the same, but she had a drunk character that she sang to it. It was completely different because it was a drunk character. She was trying to accuse me of saying that I ripped her off when it was a completely different. Like I thought it up on my own.
Wow.
Everything, it's like, oh, God forbid, two people can't do a drunk singing character,
Make it a drunk singing
I
character.
mean, maybe
easy.
not on the same show. I could see if I was opening for them or whatever, and they go, "Hey, do mine. I have my bit, and please, would you consider not doing it?" Absolutely, I would respect somebody that way, but not to do it the entire time at the club when the person isn't there until like twice a year or something like that was really ridiculous.
Plus, they stole it from you, right?
Right, exactly. No, they didn't steal it from me. It was just one of those things where we both had a drunken character, but she made it like I ripped her off and stole it from her when I never did. That really aggravated me.
Yeah, you see, yeah, I met you.
I still don't like them. We're friends on Facebook and everything like that, and I do the niceties, but deep down inside, I still have that kind of.
You don't curse each other out on Facebook.
But that would be a funny thing for you to do, a video of two of you playing drunk and arguing. That's my bit over the rainbow. You stole it from me. I'll scratch your eyes out. All right, so that's quite a story. That's one of our best nicked stories, right? That's pretty clear.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm running out of my own stories on that. I just I was really worried for a few years because I'd been doing this bit for years and years of Johnny Cash singing Pinball Wizard, because the music to Folsom Prison Blues fits perfectly with the words to Folsom Prison. So I was, ever since I was a young boy, I played the silver ball. And then all of a sudden, this video appeared on YouTube of Puddle's Pity Party doing the same bit. And he was getting millions of hits on it. And I just thought, oh shit, he's going to get the credit for this bit because he's found the best medium. He's gotten it out there. And I never, the closest I ever heard, I mean, I never confronted him, never met him, anything like that. But I just remember some interview with him about that bit, and he's saying, yeah, somebody gave that to me in Atlanta. Well, I did work in Atlanta once, but I don't think I was doing that bit at that time. But he could have just been making it up, because
there's no way to prove this or track it for any of us.
No, and I just for a while when I was doing that bit to close my act, I would just say, if you've seen some clown doing this, bear in mind, I've been doing this bit for.
He's just some clown. And then he's making counter videos in full clown makeup. I'm not just some clown. I'm Puddles. Yeah. All right. So this goes back. I'm going to show you. This is the High on Laughter 1, the August 2000 at the 800 seat Queen's Hall in Edinburgh. And we're going to come into George Wendt and Archie Hahn from Off the Wall.
But God gave me a gift. All right. Johnny Cash doing Pinball Wizard.
Is this it?
Ever since I was a young boy, I played the silver ball. From Soho down to Brighton, I must have played them all, but I ain't seen nothing like it in any amusement hall. Oh, that deaf and dumb and blind kid sure plays a mean pinball. Yeah.
And your voice goes really low.
Okay. I'm gonna do one more thing.
This is me, Jesus.
Audience, and I had audience like this. I would have left showbiz a long time ago. You're a lovely couple. Where you're from space. Good to see you. Thank you.
Well,
anyway,
I remember her. What's
Julia, somebody from
Australia.
Oh, it's Australia. Yeah, she was very good. Is that what we're talking about? And what'd you do on the Palladium show? Was that different?
I probably did the Johnny Cash bit, but I also did the hard rock songs done country. So I did Wild Thing and Smells Like Teen Spirit and Bohemian Rhapsody. And the footage you use is Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah, that's right.
Which suggests
Gaff again. Oh, there you are. Right
he
after
was probably
Gaff again.
Yeah, it only took 2 hours, and then I could take a nap.
I'm just a poor boy, nobody loves me. Mama mia, mama mia, mama mia, let me go. Beelzebub has the devil put aside for me. For me. For me.
President Bush says children are America's most precious resource. Let's pray it never comes to that.
Such a great line.
Yeah.
Those days. It's good to have videotape, right?
Yes. Yeah, and it's always handy. But yeah, that's the first time I'd seen the clip from the first show.
Yeah, it's up on. I got it on YouTube.
Oh, nice. Did you do any video of the second one, the one at Edinburgh Playhouse?
I did, but I lost the master tapes in Los Angeles storage debacle. Unfortunately, that was a hell of a show. That was at the 3,300 seat Edinburgh Playhouse, and we had, I think, sold 2,500 tickets.
You had Zach Galifianakis on that one.
No, he wasn't on that one. He was
on the first
Zach
one.
was on the first one at the Queen's Hall in Edinburgh, and then at the London Palladium for the here, I'll just show you the poster. Sorry, Terry, this is just
Oh, that's all right.
informality of what we're
Going
doing
into
here.
nostalgia.
Yeah, it's just what the show's all about. Rick and I are like, we're old men. What are we going to do? You know, right?
Well,
All right. So, High on Laughter, Turning Point Scotland. So this was the first one that we had video of. Let me make this bigger. Rich Hall gave me a yes verbally and never showed, and that means never gave me a can't show message. It's like when Margaret Cho agreed to do the second one, the one that we're looking for, we don't have the video of. She says, yeah, I'll do it. You know, as a drop-in, I didn't have the poster made for her, but she, you know, last minute, I was so grateful. Thank you so much. She didn't make it. She didn't say I can't make it. And then she shows up at the after party, and I see her at my after party at the big apartment that I rented for all the comics. And I say, oh, it's Margaret Nocho. The blood drained from her face. This was the first one, really good one. We did 4 nights. Don't forget, it was like 3 or 4 nights. And then this was the second one, the one that I don't. Let me see if I can enlarge this at all. I think I can. This was really, in some ways, I think this was the best one, even better than the
Johnny Vegas.
Johnny Vegas, Terry. Johnny Vegas is his real name is Michael Penniman, and he created this stage character, which is just a drunken comic. It's not like flail about drunk. It's just kind of like saying what you mean if you're British and you're drunk, kind of drunk. Mark Thomas, who was a political comedian, and Emo Phillips. Initially, I had Charles Fleischer.
I remember Emo.
Emo.
I worked with him one time.
Did you? Where?
I was in oh great. I was at a Funny Bone. I think I was in Boise, Idaho.
Okay.
Yeah. Or I might have been Davenport, Iowa.
Yeah.
Gosh, how quickly we forget, right? It's one of those places. Yeah.
Maybe 4 years after the High on Laughter, I opened for him at Cobb's in San Francisco.
Emo?
For Emo, yeah. That was fun.
Did he remember you from the Palladium show?
Yeah, he did, and we hung out quite a bit, in the dressing rooms and stuff. He was very nice man.
Yeah, when we had lunch in London once or twice. He had a flat in Marylebone, and so I met him near there, and we went to lunch somewhere. He picked up the tab. Very nice, of course. He was well treated by me, the producer. But yeah, this was a great show, and I told this. So this Charles Fleischer was supposed to be on the show initially, and I had posters made with Charles' name where Mark Thomas is. And the way I was promoting the show was Charles Fleischer, the voice of Roger Rabbit. Mark Tom, no, it was Johnny Vegas. So Charles Fleischer, the voice of Roger Rabbit, Mark Thomas, the voice of the people, political comedian, and Emo Phillips, the voice in his head. And Fleischer pulled out at the last second after the advertising went, and so I had to, retool it. But it was a great show. We had this was the most booked show I had. I was having some experience with some comics not showing up from previous ones, so I kind of booked extra as insurance. But I think we got everybody on. My favorite of that night, aside from you, Rick, was Arthur Smith. Arthur Smith is this British comedian, Terry, he's just a regular bloke. He talks like this, and he's very logical. And I remember his joke because it was on this night. He says, I read a book about addictions. I liked it so much, I bought another one.
There was so much of that kind of humor in that I saw at comedy clubs. For some reason, the only line I can remember was from Milton Jones, who's another one of just
I love Milton Jones. Yes,
great one-liners. But he just said, "So I remember I was sitting with John Lennon. We're over the hills in Exeter, and we look out, and I turn to John and I say, imagine there's no Devon." You're thinking, wait, why would this guy be with John Lennon? Oh, it doesn't matter.
No, I love. You see, this is one of the things that attracted me to England was there's a difference between a bad pun and a clever pun, and Americans, audiences, and fellow comics alike across the board, 100%, no more research needed, hate, abhor, are embarrassed, and condemn puns at any level. And yet you look at some of the greatest writers, and Oscar Wilde and Mark Twain, and even, Bill Shakespeare, puns were abundant. Because if they're brilliant, why get rid of them?
Yeah.
Why?
I think Stephen just brought the show to a grinding halt. All right, look, we've got just a few minutes. I'm turning into Woody Allen. Let's do another pub quiz with our wonderful guest, Terry Joyce, all the way from Fresno. Soon to change the name to a more positive Yes, if we can work it out. Where's my brand? Where's my branding come up so I can do the pub quiz thing? I got to scroll down further. I'm using a borrowed computer. Oh, it's Brahmin brand settings. Here we go. I get it. Okay, here we go. Pub quiz. Incidentally, Terry, this is one of Brian's locations where he does pub quizzes, and those voices are his pub audience, right?
Yes, that was at the Shaftesbury pub, which is right down the street from me. I do that every Tuesday night, and then I do one in Hackney, which is more central London. I do that on Mondays.
Wouldn't it be nice, Terry, if you and I were in London and we were strolling from the cinema and walking to Brian's to watch his pub and participate?
It would be nice.
And then we take the W7 bus down to Chelsea, and then we walk over to the embankment at the Thames, and we stand at the Albert Bridge just as the fog is rolling in and the moon is shining and illuminating the herons that are popping their heads up in the Thames water. And then we turn to each other, and I've got my hands around your throat, and I strangle you to death. And then I'm just kidding. I saw Stephen Allen Green.
Just testing out a comedy sketch here.
Yeah, it's comedy sketch, Your Honor. Yeah. We robbed the bank. Yeah. All right, what's the score?
It's 2-1, Terry.
Okay.
All right, let's go with this one. Last week there was this artwork originally created in 2019 by an Italian artist named Maurizio Prenell, I think that's his name, and it featured a banana taped to a wall, and some crypto billionaire bought that piece of art for $6.2 million.
Yeah, crypto worth nothing to buy nothing. Yeah, go on.
So, but the work of art, maybe it didn't make as big a splash as it did here, but what the name of of this artwork, which it is a fresh banana, and they just replace it every few days. It has a name that is relevant to all three of us. It's a one-word name for this particular work of art. It has nothing to do with bananas.
Give us a clue, a further clue.
Starts with C.
Well,
And it's
come on.
8-letter word.
Oh,
It's a profession.
comedian.
It is. The name is comedian.
Oh, interesting.
Did
Yeah.
this sale really happen, or was it a stunt? The whole
Uh,
thing was a stunt, right?
Well, I saw a picture of the guy who bought it. He's looked to be in his late 20s or so, and just thought, but by buying it, he has the license to change the banana every few days. And
yeah, but what's to say? So we talk about art copies, right? You
Yeah.
know, we see movies about it, we read books about it. Oh, this is the real Mona Lisa. No, it isn't. What's to say that there's somebody right now at Trader Joe's, getting a banana, and just to dramatize it even more, puts the banana down his jacket, and then goes over to Home Depot and gets some gaffer's tape, and then he creates, aha, I've got this priceless work of art.
Yeah. And people say, no, that's a copy. Yeah,
how would they know?
That's a forgery.
It's bizarre that that's considered art.
Well, that's the first thing. Yeah.
And that somebody would pay for it. And
Right.
That's why I think it's a stunt.
It's just stupid. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it is.
Who made that to be art?
Well, yeah. Well, he was he was an Italian painter or Italian artist, I guess would be the.
So it's a painting, but
no, it's not a painting.
No.
Is it? It's a real banana.
How do you remove the? Yeah, it has to be.
If it was a painting, then okay, I could get it. I think it's just some
stupid.
obsessive compulsive monkey made
It's
it.
just
Literally,
stupid. I'm sorry.
it's stupid. Okay, next question. Next question, please.
Next
Your
question.
Honor. Next question, Your Honor.
All right. A Simpsons question.
Oh no.
Okay.
How many times was Stephen Hawking a guest voice on The Simpsons?
So that means more than one, Terry. I think he means more than one.
Does mean more than one. No, it's not on as much as he wasn't on as much as, say, Kelsey Grammer doing Sideshow Bob, but he was on multiple times. You just pick a number. It's less than 10.
I'm going to say 7.
I'm going to say 13.
Well, that would be.
I know it's more than 10. I know that was I was portraying the stupid guy.
Well,
what's the number?
The number is 4.
Okay, great. Yeah, 4 times.
Now you know. Now you know. Okay.
Terry, you look so regal when you're leaning back.
Do I?
Let's try this one. Everybody got this one last night, but
everybody except us because we're dumb. Is that what you're saying?
I think you get it too. What famous Brit in history would be celebrating his 150th birthday on Saturday, meaning he was born on November 30th, 1874?
Keith Richards.
That's a very good guess.
Oscar Wilde.
No, he's Irish.
Oh, okay.
Give us a clue.
Um,
What is he? A writer, a painter, a politician?
I think he's all of those.
Oh, Henry Moore.
More famous than that.
A Brit, more famous. Francis Bacon.
1874. Okay, wait.
Died in 1965.
I want to say Sterling Holloway, but he was a character actor.
Yeah, this guy was not in showbiz, but he was everything else.
Give us a clue further, please.
Statesman, diplomat, writer,
and a well-known artist. You're saying?
Yeah, I think he did some painting as well.
Oh, well, what was the one thing that made him famous? What was that made him famous first?
politician.
Churchill.
Churchill. Winston Churchill, yes. Would be 150 years old. So, yes.
Wow.
You know the famous Churchill stories, Terry, where he was post World War II hero in Parliament making speeches, totally drunk. His eyeballs were floating, as they say. And the Madam Secretary, what was her name? I forget. You know, was it Bainbridge or whatever? Said, "Mr. Churchill, you're drunk." And his response was, "Yes, I am. And you're ugly. But in the morning, I'll be sober. And you'll still be ugly." So I love that kind of politics.
Yeah, those kind of stories. You know,
I love that story.
Okay, one more. Musicals. The 1965 musical Man of La Mancha, which introduced to Dream the Impossible Dream, was inspired by what 17th century novel?
Don Quixote.
There you go. And that score is now 4-3.
Very good. All right.
So,
no, we've got 5 more minutes for you. Got to go, Betty Boop.
Let's do one more here.
All right. And is it 4-3, Stephen?
4-3, Terry.
Okay. So
Comedy.
is this? Well, if we're going to do one more, that's either going to even the score, unless you want to make it a winner take all.
Okay, let's try this one. This is kind of difficult.
Another winner take all.
No, we'll do one more and then we'll do the winner take all. If it's tied.
Okay.
Yeah, let's go with comedy films.
Okay, comedy films. Weird. You know, when I met Harry Shearer, by the way, 20 years ago, I was offering him that second gig, you know, the one with Charles Fleischer was supposed to be in. I was talking to Spinal Tap, 3 of the members, you know, and Michael McKean and it was kind of being snide with Christopher Guest. Ooh, they've got Roseanne. It must be a great show. And I was like, oh man, they're just knocking me out here. And then Harry Shearer's in the back going, where? When's the show? Where? When? We can do that, right? When? Just a little impression for you.
Oh, me and Joshua did a gig with Spinal Tap.
Really?
They were not nice.
No.
I don't know if they were trying to be in character, but we had a communal restroom in our dressing area. We had separate dressing areas, but there was a communal restroom, and Harry insisted when he went to the bathroom that nobody go in the bathroom. And I just thought that's shitty. What if I have diarrhea or something?
I'm not going to be in the bathroom for me to get into character.
Yes. So anyway,
all right. 2 more questions. Okay.
Comedy films.
Yeah.
Mission to Moscow from 1994 was the 7th and final installment of what U.S. comedy film franchise that began in 1984? They had 7 of them, and some of the actors were in all 7.
That's quite a question. I don't know. Terry, do you have a clue?
Each one got less funny, and the first one wasn't that funny. Oh, Craig Harmon got it.
Oh, did he? Let me go over to comments and get that up there.
Oh, somebody got it?
Yeah, he's right.
What
Craig
is
Harmon.
it?
Police Academy.
Oh, Mission to Moscow. Wow. Yeah, they did get increasingly less funny.
Congratulations, Craig.
Yeah. I did a gig opening for Mike Winslow one time. He's
That's the sound effects guy
who makes the sounds. Yeah. I mean, it did some impressive stuff. He did an entire radio dial with all the sound effects of the static.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And okay, one more. I'll give a lot of clues for this one, but last week, 2 drummers that had been with a very big band died last week. 4 days apart. 2 different. They'd been drummers at different times for this band that first hit in the 60s and had their peak in the 70s with disco, and then continued having hits into the 80s. But the one of the drummers that died was Australian and was with this group when they were based in Australia, and then the other one was a Welsh guy who was with them in their disco period.
And ironically, this question is framed right after a discussion of Spinal Tap, which lost
about dead drummers. Yes,
and one of them was our buddy Freddie Asparagus.
So
something
we're going to do something. So
I know the answer to this, but I want to give our guest the platform to get it.
Okay.
Oh, you know what? This was escaping me.
Only one of the three main members of this band is still alive.
Is staying alive.
Is staying alive. Stephen gave you a big clue.
Only one of the members of this band, Terry, is staying alive.
Oh, it's the Bee Gees.
Yay!
There we go. Okay, we got there, and we have just time enough to. So you've won the trophy, which means that when you meet me and Stephen in London at some point, Stephen's going to buy you a drink.
Okay.
Yeah,
I think that's it.
That's
all right.
how
That
it
sounds
works.
good.
Yeah, that's going to happen. It will. Terry,
might.
thank you so much. You're such a great friend. I've known you for decades. You remain an inspiration. You're so fantastic. And Fresno is lucky to have you. And Brian, next week we have Michael Legge, who was supposed to be on this show, but he's stuck in Ireland. Northern Ireland, is it?
Yeah.
Everybody have a wonderful Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you. I want to thank our audience. We do have an audience. I've looked at the statistics of all of our shows, and we seem to hover around 350 people on both sides of the Atlantic over a week's time, because the show stays up and people watch it, and if they miss it, they come home and they watch it. And then it peters out after 4 days or a week, depending on a lot of things going on in the news and etc. But I really want to thank people like Craig Harmon and Damian Fitz
and Maggie O'Hagan.
Maggie O'Hagan and
that's my girlfriend.
Is it Harry Dean? What was that?
I was just saying, Terry, that's my girlfriend.
It's his girlfriend.
He's got a girlfriend. Man, Brian always has a girlfriend, always a gorgeous girlfriend. And
she wears red hats and has blonde hair, just like Terry.
Oh.
Wow, I think he just hit on you, Terry. It was a spare in case the other one doesn't work out. Anyway, I want to thank everybody and all of our guests. We've had some fantastic guests. And Brian, are we going to introduce? This isn't the last show of the year. What am I talking about? We have more shows, and that it is Thanksgiving, so I want to be thankful. But we are going to introduce a new segment called the Comedy Police that you and I used to do back in the 80s, right, Brian?
Yes, where we just analyze something, either a comedy film or a comedy series or
a comedy special, stand up, and we watch the same one, and then we do sort of a Siskel and Ebert on it, Terry.
Yeah.
And Terry, I would like to extend, if would you, Brian and I and Terry, let's all talk off camera about maybe Terry can come in like once a week or once a month, whatever's convenient, and do some kind of special thing. I don't know, maybe an astrological report. Maybe like, do you remember the Smothers Brothers show? What was her name?
I do.
Remember? And there was this hippie girl actress who played a hippie girl.
I want to say she went on Laugh-In too, but I don't think that she'd do a kind of a hippie weather forecast, didn't she?
Yes. So Smothers Brothers show cast. Carl was a writer on that show. I spoke with Carl yesterday, Gottlieb. So Don Novello was on it. God. Yeah, Don Novello. Wow, remember that? Don Novello. What was his character's name?
Father Guido Sarducci.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Here's the answer. Who are the regulars on the Smothers Brothers show?
Pat Paulson.
Writers include Hal Goldman, Al Gordon, written for the Jack Benny program. Jim Stafford, Steve Martin, Don Novello, Rob Reiner, Lorenzo Music, perennial presidential candidate Pat Paulson, Bob Einstein, Lee French.
Lee French, yes, that was the one.
She was great. You ever see Lee French, Terry?
No, I don't remember her, but I'll look her up.
Yeah, Leigh. She's
Okay.
she's exactly like you just, I'm not going to even color it for you. Listen, thank you very much, everyone. We'll see you next week, hopefully with Michael Legge, and confirm that, Brian, and then we're going to book. Oh, I've got some other bookings that can't do it but want to do it. Have a great Thanksgiving, everybody.
Okay.
Bye.
See you all later.
It's Comedy Dish.
Co-starring Rick Wright and Stephen Allen Green.